G'day fellas. In this video we're going to be looking at small things that I do to play better. So this is actually the 100th video that's going to be on the channel, so for anybody who's been here since the earlier videos, thank you. And anyone who's joined a little bit later, well, welcome. And I hope that you've been enjoying the content. So let's get into it. We're going to start off a game. We're just playing against the AI, and I'm going to run through just a typical game and the way that I play better just in a game. So let's do it. We're just going to start off, and the very first thing that I do that we're going to be talking about is Vill Popping. So what is Vill Popping? Vill Popping is where you will take your villagers and you'll pop them out of the TC. So let's say I want to herd in this hunt, right? I could walk a Vill over here, okay? Or I could pop a Vill out the side like that. And that's exactly what I do. And now let's say we want to get all of these in. Now these guys are over here. You can just go 1, 2, and 3. Just like that. That's Vill Popping. So how am I doing that? So in the options, okay, under your hotkeys, you're going to have command hotkeys. What you're looking at is eject unit. So I've changed mine to G. Okay, I think the default is going to be something like Shift, Control, F2 or something like that. It's a little bit silly. You want to set it to a very easy to touch hotkey. So I use G. Now you can use this in a lot of different ways. But the most common is for popping like this. Now, let's say, as an example, I've just hit the age up button and all of a sudden I want everybody to go onto coin and maybe they're out over here. Instead of walking them over to the coin mine and having them all walk past here, what you can do, again, is do the Vill Pop. So you task them to the town center, click on the town center, click where you want them to go and just spam G. And they're all just going to come out and walk over. You're saving yourself. How many villager seconds do you think that is? Maybe we should count it. Let's go have a look, all right? So from here, how long does it take to get to the other side? Let's go to here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 5 seconds. So if it takes 5 seconds to walk around the town center, and you've got 6 villagers that you're popping, that's 6 times 5. That's 30 seconds, 30 villager seconds that you're saving. What can your villagers do in 30 seconds? Well, they can mine a shitload of coin, that's for sure. And maybe that's the coin that gets your musketeer out that saves you. So that's something that's important to consider. The next thing that I want to talk about that I do to play better is shooting guardians inside the circle. Now, I'm just using this bear as an example. Typically, you wouldn't do it with this bear. So what you're going to do, bring it out to the invisible ring, okay? And you need to expect it, okay? So actually, you know what we might do? We're going to turn on a little bit of a cheat just so that we can tell where all of the hunts are. Here's a perfect treasure, because this is actually a treasure that I do it to. And we're going to talk about exactly how we're doing this. So around every treasure, there's an invisible ring, okay? It's about here. You'll learn it after a couple hundred, dozen games, whatever it is. You'll learn it. So what's the best way to take this treasure without losing any health on my explorer? This is it, all right? Wait for the ring. Shoot the tiger, or shoot the lion, and then I at the same time, I sharp shot the other one. And then what I want to do is I want to build a straight line with my explorer to the lion. Okay, so the lion actually just came back then. I shouldn't have done that. So lion, you're not helping. As long as I'm outside the ring here, okay, the lion's not going to attack me. But if we go inside the ring, we can actually emulate this. So right now, I'm inside the ring. And the lion is not attacking me, even though he could be attacking me. So how am I doing this? Every time I shoot, I'm moving. And so now I've been able to take the treasure, 2 lion treasure, with only 30 damage. And you might be thinking, all right, well, that's not such a big deal, Drongo. It's only 30 damage. You know, I would lose maybe 200 health off my explorer normally. There's not a lot of that, not a lot of difference. Well, there is. There's a huge amount of difference. When your opponent comes to attack you in the early game, you're going to need your explorer. What you're going to do is you're going to put your explorer onto melee in the early game, and you're going to be snaring your enemy units. And if you've got 200 extra health, well, that's 200 extra health that they're going to have to get through. So let's go through it just one more time. Here's that invisible ring. Okay, we're going out to the invisible ring. As soon as they go out, as soon as they return back, that's when we're going to open fire. We're going to try and stay outside this invisible ring as long as possible. Okay, so it's reset because what? All right, that was terrible. So essentially, what has happened is it's reset the aggro when I've done the sharpshooter shot. So once again, making that straight line with the treasure. I'm making that straight line, and then I can come inside the circle, and as long as I'm moving inside the circle, immediately after that shot, there we go. Perfect. every single time. Now, just keep in mind, it doesn't work every single time. It works every single time, 60% of the time. So it's not always going to be successful. So let's move on to the next tip. So the next tip is using control groups. So it might seem like an elementary thing, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to just give ourselves a little bit of resources just so we can cheat our way up. So we're going to go a whole lot of love. This is going to give us a whole bunch of resources in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see we're going to turn on speed always wins. So you guys can stop doing that. So at the very beginning of the game, what am I doing? In the top left-hand corner, you can see I've got my explorer. He's on control 1. Okay, if I double tap control 1, it goes to him. If I click it, it'll also select it. If you double click it, it takes you back there. So on control 5, I've got my town center. On 1, I've got my explorer. Now, let's say I want to get my explorer back in my base. Instead of having to go up here, select him, come back down here, and go like that, what I can do, like let's just say he's chilling out there, I'm back here, I can press 1 on my keyboard, bring my explorer back, just like that. Very simple. So what are some recommended control groups that I would say? These are my recommended control groups for anybody who's starting out in the game or relatively new to it. Maybe they're unfamiliar with control groups. Let's just chuck a torp down so we got a bit of housing. So this is what I do, okay? On 5, I include all my town centers. Okay, every single one of my town centers I put on control 5. So that means I've got 1, 2, 3 town centers on control 5. So that means that instead of pressing the town center hotkey and having to queue a villager, I can just press 5 and press Q once, and it's going to train a villager. Now it's training them very fast because I've got speed always wins on. So if I turn that off, you'll see it's training a villager. So what I can be doing is I can be in the middle of a fight right now. So let's say I'm in a fight right now, and you know, everything's going on, the light cannons are going brrrr. I can just press 5 Q without even like returning back. I don't have to cycle through each of my town centers and make sure that they're all doing it. I can just keep my eyes on the fight. So maybe there's a flank coming in or something like that, it'll prevent it. So when it comes to the control groups or the hotkeys, 5 is for your town centers, 4 is for your military production buildings. Now every player does this a little bit differently. For me, the way I do it, I use 4 and I put everything in 4. And you can see I've got an artillery foundry, a stable, and a barracks. So what am I doing? I'm pressing tab if I want to cycle through. Now it's always going to put these in a specific order. If you've got only a barracks and only an artillery foundry and you put that on control 4, it's always going to put the artillery foundry first. If you put the barracks and the stable on control 4, it's always going to put the barracks first. If you put the stable and the artillery foundry, it's always going to put the artillery foundry first. So the priority is 1, 2, 3. When you put them together though, you've got artillery foundry, barracks, and stable. So it's important to remember that hierarchy because what you're going to be doing is you might be out fighting, press 4, you want to train Carolians, tab, oh gosh, I've fat fingered over there. So I'm pressing 4, tab, E. 4, tab, E. Now you might be wondering, well, Drongo, how do you get those little cool icons that you've got in the top right-hand corner of each of your things so you can tell what you've got to press? Great question, and I get this question quite a lot, so let me show you. On the UI options, down the bottom, they recently added this, display hotkey commands. It's not a mod, you can just get it right now, it's in your game. Go and enable this, it really helps you out. Another great example of where this helps out is on the market. And often people really don't appreciate this, but I'll have a market up and I can just press Control W, so Control W is the shortcut for your market. And just bam, and what I can do, so I can be like fighting and I can just be Control W, Q W, and then double tapping 1 will take me back to the fight. Now, what I just did there, so that's called snapping. So with my control groups, I normally go control 1 is for my infantry. Now, typically that's my ranged infantry. I'm going to want, whether that's my Carolians, my skirmishers, my musketeers, that's control 1. Control 2, it will depend on my unit composition. If I'm in the early game and I don't have any hussars yet, maybe I'll put my leather cannons on that. And by the same token, if I'm playing British and I've got falconets and muskets, it's 1 and 2. These are my 2 primary groups. Whoa, calm down there. Calm down there, mate. But this changes. It changes based on what you've got. Maybe your civilization can't build artillery. Maybe you're playing the Lakota. Then I would put my Wakinas or my Setons on control 1, and then my cavalry on control 2. and it really changes. But what's most important is that you find something that's comfortable for you and something that is consistent. You need to have something that is always that you're going to be able to rely on, because as an example, if you go into a game and you're misclicking your control groups, it's going to end terribly, because instead of, like, let's say your opponent is pushing in, I might train a few more units just so it looks a little bit more formidable. I'm not going to... Oh, actually, I probably will turn the cheat on. Speed always wins. Alright, so we've got a couple more Hussars. Let's say we've got a couple more Carolians. So now we're looking a bit more formidable. We'll turn that back off just so that the AI doesn't go crazy, because if you do leave that on, the AI will just go crazy. Look at this beautiful pathing here. You know, you would have thought that they probably would have been able to fit through there. And you want to know something? I bet you they could. But they made their decision. They're coming around this way, and that's fine. So when it starts getting to, like, bigger numbers like this, and let's say your opponent's pushing in, and maybe you haven't been paying attention, maybe your leather cannons are out the front, okay? If you've got your control hotkeys, if you've got your hotkeys on the wrong buttons, what might happen is you might want to move your Carolians forward and your leather cannons back and your Hussars forward. So you might get it the wrong way around, and you might send your leather cannons forward, your Carolians back, and your Hussars forward. And now you've got a problem, because now you've got to get that back. And look how much distance you've created. So really nail down those hotkeys, make sure that you get them right. So the next thing that we're going to talk about, though, is going to be helping you with this. So it's pull tricking. A lot of people have heard about the pull trick, but they don't really know, what it is or how to execute it. It's an incredibly advanced technique. Back when I played in 2008, 2009, this didn't exist. The meta hadn't evolved to this point where people actually knew how to, how to exploit this mechanic. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it. So you might have units that move at speeds, different speeds, and or even the same speed, when they try and reach formations, some units speed up and some units slow down. But you can actually manipulate the game and tell the game how you want that certain unit to act or speed up. And so, as an example, oh gosh, what was that? Oh, it was the war dog. I'm like, did you guys just start attacking the tiger for no reason? Okay, problem solved. So, with our Carolians here, we can pull them. We can pull this Carolian. We can make him run faster. He runs at 4.2 movement speed. We can actually make him outrun cavalry with the pull trick. So, what does the pull trick look like? It looks like this. Well, it actually doesn't look like that. He should be going much faster than that. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not actually sure why it's not working there. That's very awkward. Let's try it with the Explorer and this guy here. So we're going to try pulling him in. So we're going to go like that. So see how our Explorers run back? That wasn't the intended behavior. So the pull trick, it works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes. And at the moment, it's just being it's one of those things where it's not helping. So the way that you do it is you select your first units, and then you select the second units with shift. And so they might be moving in a direction. Let's say you want to speed it up. Okay, so what you'll do is like that. But normally it's the other way around. That's so embarrassing. You know what? I'm just going to show you an example from a professional game. So I'll be putting that up on the screen now. All right, John, here we go. Looks like we've got a pull trick coming out of a top level game. Thank you very much to the ESOC community for providing this one to me. We've got Kaiser versus Mido. As you can see here, what we've got Mido attempting to escape, but pulling his Explorer here with a Disciple. And at the same time, Kaiser Klein chasing him, using the native scout to speed up his own Explorer to attempt to get shots off. It's incredibly difficult to achieve, but both players are able to do it. They're at the top level, the top echelon, and it's incredibly amazing to see. He pulls off a second pull trick now. Mido's got the second pull trick. Is Kaiser able to catch up to him? It looks like Mido's going to be able to block, and that's exactly how you execute that beautiful pull trick. Back to you, Drongo. All right, so the next thing is, it's very similar to pull tricking. Okay, this is called drag boxing. So Pirashiki very famously does the drag boxing, and that's where you've essentially got your entire army in a single control group or a single drag box. Now you can see in the top right hand corner. I'm just going to delete these villas so they stop showing up as idle. So what happens is your units all have collision on them. Okay, so every time you move them, they collide with each other. So if you want to move your leather cannons to the north and your Carolians to the south, and you try and do that, You see how they have to walk around each other? Okay? You can solve that problem. If you put them in the same control group, you can manipulate them so that they all walk together. So, let's do it. How do we do it? Bam. Just like that. Just like that. Absolutely no problem. So if you were to go and tell your leather cannons to go to the north, look what they do. They go and they do this beautiful, wonderful sightseeing tour, and then they get to the north, okay? But if you want to get them to the south right now, all you can do is just like that. Very easy to manipulate to get them onto the other side. This is incredibly helpful if you're out of position and you need to get your leather cannons. Or it works with anything. It's not just the leather cannons. I don't want people to think this is Swede specific. This is any sort of cannons that this can work with. You can just simply manipulate them using this. And by the same token, okay, let's say that you've got these guys in a control group, and then you've got your cavalry behind, and your cavalry are getting stuck on your units. Okay, see how they're getting stuck? I'm trying to move them forward, but they're just getting stuck like this, frustrating. Put them all in the same control group, the cavalry just runs straight through, and now you can move them without any hassle whatsoever. So just once again, I'll show that, okay? So they're getting stuck. Some cavalry getting stuck behind, put them all in the same control group, right click, they move to the front, and then straight through. And that's all you have to do. Just putting them in the same control group, or the same drag box. So that's what it's called. That's called the drag box, because you're dragging a box. Putting them in the same drag box is going to allow them to avoid pathing, and that's exactly what you want to do. So the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is timing your shipments and timing your military so that you can defend rushes successfully. So let's say, as an example, you know, it's 6 minutes or whatever, and the opponent is rushing you. Maybe you've scouted a forward base. You need a little bit of foresight to do this. Okay, so let's say that you ship leather cannons. How long does a shipment take of leather cannons? Or crossbows or anything? It takes 40 seconds. Okay, so let's ship our hussars. We're going to wait 40 seconds. Now, you're going to need to do this with your own civilization and work out exactly how long it's going to take. But I know for the Carolean, it takes 32 seconds, which means about here is when I need to start queuing my Carolean. Okay? And I'm also going to time this. So we're going to have a batch of Caroleans that pop out. We'll pop them out here. We're going to have our Hussars, which pop out here. And at the same time, we're going to have our Minutemen, which pop out as well. So Minutemen are going to take us 6 seconds to train. And so everything slowly is, you know, starting to line up. It might not be perfect, but now we're going to queue the Minutemen. Ideally, we want the Minutemen to pop out first, and then the shipment, and then the Caroleans. So Minutemen, shipment, and then the Caroleans. So they're a little bit late to the party. But essentially, what that allows you to do is go from 0 to a full army in just a very short time. You know, if your opponent is pushing you and doing this, this pushes, it's going to be a much more effective defense for you if you can time all of these units to come out at the same time, rather than just, oh, I might call Minutemen. You know, oh, I've got the resources to call Minutemen, I'll call Minutemen. And at the same time, you know, maybe your Caroleans are still halfway through their batch. So that would be the next thing. Now, the final thing that we're going to be talking about is Pillarless Walls. I've got this question infinitely. There's a lot of interest in how to do this. So let me just turn on Speed Always Wins once again. And we'll get some villagers out on the map. We might delete all these guys. It's been lovely having you guys out here, but unfortunately, you're no longer needed. All right, so here we go. So we'll turn off Speed Always Wins. So what you're going to need to do for this, all right, is you're going to need to go into your options, into your hotkeys, and you're going to need to go into your, I think it is your Find Units hotkeys. You're going to scroll down to about a little bit over halfway. So let's see. Here we go. Okay, so it's actually like right down the bottom. Never mind. It's like, okay, there it is. So you're looking for Find All of Selected Type. So I've got it on mouse 5 down. So you know those buttons on the side of your mouse that you use when you're browsing to like go forward or back on a web page? I use those same buttons for delete and to find all of a selected type. So as an example, if I select these, that's my delete button. But if I select a single villager, I can press find all of this type. Bam, it does it. And it does it with everything. You can do it with a town center. You can do it with a barracks. You can do it with a torp. You can do it with anything. It'll select up to 50 of them. So what you want to be doing when you're building your wall is you're going to be dropping down your wall, okay? And then you're going to be selecting all the pillars. So using that same button, whatever you put it to. As I said, I put it, this is on the topmost button, and then delete is on the bottom. So I can just very easily do that. And then you can build your wall. Now, you might notice that when you build your wall, you run into a bit of an issue. And that issue is not that the enemy is building musketeers. Do I have to... Yo, Tommy, get out here. Tommy, don't get stuck like this, buddy. Come on. We need your assistance. Get him, boy. Alright, Tommy, you've been great. So you might run into this issue where you've got holes in your wall. So how do you get around this? How do you stop there from being holes in your wall? Alright, let's go have a look. Probably just go put a villager over here. So let's say we want a wall from the side here. I tell you what, you're really annoying. So let's say we want a wall from the top here. So we're going to select our wall. And we're going to put it down the first pillar. Now, you see this little snap that's happening right here. This snap where it's taking us from one small and one big to two big. Okay, that's what we're waiting for. When we hit that, what we're going to do is we're going to click. And we're going to wait for it again. Click. And again. Oh, so you want to avoid it doing that thing where it's got like small. You want to avoid that. It's the big ones you want. So click again. And then, so that's all you do. So it's best to do it 2 at a time. Now, you can do it 1 at a time, but I think 2 at a time is the best. It's very easy to do. And then from there, you're just going to delete them. And now you've got this perfect wall. So everybody get on the wall. And now what happens is you've got a wall that you can't get through. And this reduces the build time of the wall. It reduces the wood cost of the wall. And most importantly, it reduces pathing issues that you might have with the wall. Because what you can do is you can just put gates on all of these and your units don't even register the walls because there's no pillars. So when you put down a pillar like this, your units will register that and they'll be like, oh, you know, I need to path around that. But when you've got gates, see that? Your units just path directly through them. Absolutely no problem at all. And that's why a wall's so powerful. He comes around to that side. Yeah, mate. I'll see you later. I'll see you later. Look at that. Easy. Easy micro. And the villager survives. Well, survives until now. Do we need to get... We got to get Tuck out again. So, look guys. I know it's been a bit of a longer video. I hope that I've been able to explain a couple of things. Thank you so much for sticking with me to my 100th video. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to creating a lot more content. If this video has been helpful, I encourage you to leave a like or chuck a comment down below and let me know if there's anything that I've missed that you think might have been very obvious or simple that I could have explained that I didn't. So, thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. And by the way, we're live over on Twitch right now. Come and get us.